Hey, it's me, WWE Hall of Famer from the LOD, Road Warrior Animal. And who are you?
Yeah, I gotta do this when? Now? I'm watching a match. What is now? Now is, oh, now. Yeah, thanks. Hey, this is the Pharaoh from Monty and the Pharaoh. I just want to say thank you to our subscribers as we now have hit the 10,000 plateau. Thank you to all our subscribers out there. But I'm going to ask our subscribers to take the next step for us and become a full-fledged YouTube Monty and the Pharaoh member. Yes, that's right, folks. You can check it out. We've got 3 different levels. There's free shirts. There's free autographs. There's all sorts of perks for our members. There is nothing more we enjoy than giving you this program. And to do that, we need your support, and we appreciate your support. This is Jimmy Pharaoh, and don't forget to check out Monty and the Pharaoh every Thursday from Indie Music TV and on Cablevision here locally in New York. Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monty and the Pharaoh. Later. Is that good enough for you? Can I finish this? Lesnar's killing him. I'm pissed. Yes.
All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monty the Pharaoh, only seen here out of Indie Music TV, straight out of Ronkonkoma, Long Island. And it doesn't get much bigger than this, as we've got one of the greatest pro wrestlers in the history of pro wrestling in the studio.
Yep.
Coming off a pretty rocking day, pretty stressful, Pharaoh. What'd you think of the Abdullah the Butcher interview?
Oh, Abdullah's a freaking legend. Abdullah's hilarious. Abdullah's insightful. Abdullah's Abdullah. He's 1 in a billion. It was great.
It's
was great as always.
He was pretty good.
He was fantastic. And he didn't cut me with the fork, so it's been a good day.
So I know the fans are very excited about this this interview coming up, and we all know that, we just don't give you your stupid ass shoot straight interview like, hey, Rob, what was it like putting an armbar on John Cena in 1997? It's kind of not like our thing.
No.
But anyway, before we get to this legend, I got to tell you, this is a big time for this show right now.
Yeah.
Backlund in studio is huge.
Yes.
Right? I don't think it's much bigger than this, though.
The great Bob Backlund.
Scott Hall was huge.
Yes, that was huge, too.
Anyway, in honor of Rob, we didn't get to talk about 9/11 and remembering the people who lost their lives. We didn't have a chance with all the shows and everything that's been going on. And since our civil liberties have been taken away from us on a particular channel, it's even caused more of a problem. But anyway, the WWE on the Peacock Network released a remembering the patriotic smackdown of 9/11, where Vince McMahon puts together, probably the first sporting event returning off of that.
It was
horrid situation.
It was the first event post 9/11. Yep.
And thoughts on Vince and what he did for this country at that time?
Well, as usual, and I am a huge backer of Vince McMahon. I grew up watching Vince McMahon's products and watching Vince McMahon's father's product. I thought that, as usual, Vince McMahon stepped up to the plate after 9/11, made a great speech, very inspiring speech, And Vince McMahon is another one who's one of a kind. One of a kind. Hey, I think there's a song in there somewhere.
Look at you playing into that.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a great moment, and it's guys like Vince who made sure that the wheel kept rolling. I thought it was a great moment.
His speech was incredible. Anyway, once we get out of commercial break, we'll ask Rob about that and quite a few other things. But anyway, I'd like to thank the band that sings the theme song for Monty and the Pharaoh, our own Jimmy Farrell, along with his partner Bart Griggs, make up the band Wisteria Hall. Wisteria Hall sings such great songs as In My Dreams, This Life, Not Far Behind, Here Comes the Rain. You could find their music on the Wisteria Hall YouTube page, Spotify, Apple Music, and download their music from Reverb Nation. In case you didn't know it, you are watching Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, and you can catch this great show on the Monty and the Pharaoh YouTube page after we come off suspension. I'm going to keep saying it because, again, my civil liberties have been attacked and denied. And being a former veteran of this country, I do, and my wife will correct me when I say veteran, I don't appreciate that one bit.
Nor should you.
Catch the Monty and the Pharaoh on the Facebook Live page. Hear us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor. Catch us on the Monty and the Pharaoh Twitch TV page. Also, if you live in New York, catch us on New York Cable every Tuesday, from 7 p.m. to 7:30 on Channel 115, which has been changed to 9:30 prime time because of the great following we have of the show. And for early risers, 6 a.m. to 6:30. Also, catch us on late night Channel 20 from 2 a.m. to 2:30. We're going to get right to this with Hall of Famer, pro wrestling great.
Oh, yeah.
Unbelievable, probably a damn good human being, Mr. Rob Van Dam.
We shall return.
Wrestling fans, now you too can look as cool as Monty and the Pharaoh by wearing the official Monty and the Pharaoh sunglasses at night for $8.99 each. That's only $8.99 each. Now available at montyandthepharaoh.com.
Elm Logistics, for all your logistic needs. Call 631-299-3595. That's 631-299-3595. Elm Global Logistics. Pride, performance, and partnerships. And Nitro's Garage for all your automotive needs. Call 646-675-2349. That's 646-675-2349. For all your automotive needs, Nitro's Garage. Ask for Jack.
All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast. Monty and the Pharaoh, filmed and produced out of Indie Music TV in Ronkonkoma, Long Island, where we have Mr. Rob Van Dam. Rob, thank you for joining us. Unbelievable.
Right on, guys.
Rob, I don't know where you stand with Vince McMahon. I believe you were part of that 9/11 show, that when you guys came back. Do you have any thoughts or any remembrances about that show?
Yes, I was, actually, and I do. They were just filming, when they were here, or not here. I live in Las Vegas. I forgot I'm not home right now. But when SummerSlam was in Las Vegas, they were doing a documentary on the first show after the tragedy, and I was booked on it. And then I don't know what happened a couple days before, and they said, sorry, we're not going to be doing that. And then I see they're doing the show anyway. So I guess I got knocked off. Probably, with the COVID, everything changed. They're trying to have as few people in the building at all times. I didn't even go to SummerSlam. I wanted to, but it was because of that, But so it's cool to be asked about that, because I was looking forward to being on the show and talking about that. It was a hell of a time that I won't forget. For me, I was traveling with Mike Awesome, and we were in San Antonio the night before. I had a hookup with the Marriott. Big buffet, sweet room. I had a hookup for both of us. Mike called me in the morning and, Rob, turn on the TV. We're under attack. And I turned it on, and I was trying to figure out what was going on, and I saw I guess it was the second tower going down, and we were both like, whoa, what's going on? But we had no idea how big that was at the time. I guess we're so used to, dealing with it, rolling with the punches, that's what you have to do in general. But this was something that affected the whole world way more than we realized. We ended up checking out, driving all the way to Houston, where the show was supposed to be that night, And then, of course, the show was canceled, and then we were stranded in Houston for the rest of the week. We would have definitely rather been trapped in San Antonio with the sweet hookup that I had and everything. But we didn't know. And man, we were all stuck at the same hotel in Houston. A bunch of the wrestlers hanging out by the pool, you know, frequenting the same restaurants or whatever, and we were kind of like just in a holding pattern, you know. When we ended up having the show, you know, a few days, 3-4 days later, whatever it was, I don't remember exactly. My thought was, no, like the very first live attended show after the attack, what better place to send a message to America than blowing up an arena full of wrestling fans? I mean, what's more American than that in WWE? So live, you know. So I thought, I was concerned. I thought there was a good chance we were going to be attacked again right there live. Everyone's going to watch, you know, thousands of people dying, whatever. But you know, we did the show. And afterwards, we were still afraid to fly, though, you know. And Teddy Long was the first one to fly out that I knew about. And I remember, you know, like, we couldn't wait to call him when he got home. You know, how was it? You know, you made it all the way? I thought he was crazy for flying. I really did, you know. And he was like, hey, first flight available I could get on. And I was just like, man, I don't know. I drove. I was with my evil ex at the time, who had some relatives in Oklahoma. And we ended up, you know, driving out of there. But for the longest time, it was very, very scary. It made you so aware to go through the process of traveling via airplane after that. And we all talked about it. I remember having a conversation with Lance Storm. We were just talking about our own perspectives, and he was saying at that time that every time he leaves the house, he kisses his kids goodbye and his wife goodbye, like he might not see him again. Like, that's how much we were committed to the business and to our life. We felt like, hey, this is life as we know it, so we're going to continue on. And if, you know, if my plane doesn't make it to its destination tonight, you know, damn, I don't want that to happen. But if that's the way the story goes, that's what happens, because we are wrestlers, you know, then that was something that we were going to have to face. And we all thought every time we got on an airplane, we might be facing it. And we eyeballed anybody with a towel on their head, or anybody with, you know, skin color that was a little darker. It was always like, okay, I'm going to sleep with one eye open just in case, you know, because we didn't know. We were all like involved in the hype, and obviously that was a crazy, terrible thing that happened.
Well, I got to tell you, I love the honesty, right? Because someone could just say, hey, look, I knew I had to do this and I had to whatever, but, you know, obviously everybody was fearful. I was flying at that time too, and I had the same problems, right? Looking and eyeballing people that you thought might be weird. And
Yep.
What did you think about Vince McMahon Jr. and his addressing the United States and his commitment to getting everything back to normal?
Respect for Vince. I think that he's a great leader, you know, and I would definitely not be qualified to be in his position to make decisions. I mean, you know, obviously he gets a lot of heat. A lot of people throw the weight on him for what happens with a lot of individual wrestlers and their lives. That's the position that he's in. You know, I wouldn't even want to be in a position where I got to hire and fire people. You know, that for me, being the most zenful person that you see out there, that's because I think my lifestyle is extreme in mellow conditions, you know, in a way that normal people can't understand, because normal people have way more stress in their normal lives, whether it's your job, your kids, your significant other, you fight, you know, traffic, whatever. People live with stress, and for me, that's like my spiritual goal, is to be on the lookout for stress, find it, deal with it immediately, get rid of it if I can. I mean, that's not easy to explain, but just to show you my perspective, I can't imagine being in another position besides the one I'm in. You know, this one's great for me. I got my own values that work for me. Everybody does. Everyone has their own perspective on life, and they hold others at fault because other people have other values. But you don't judge people by their own values. You judge them by your values. That's why people can't understand each other. If everyone knew that, I think it'd be a lot easier to understand, and then you could just not put as much energy into it. You know, Vince McMahon is the leader. He's the most important man that I know. I'm very, very happy to have a good relationship with him, and to go up there and say, hey, you know what? America needs to be entertained. America's been crying for days, and we're not forgetting what we lost, who we lost. We're just taking a break because, you know, when bad things happen, a lot of us tend to feel entitled to misery, and sometimes we can't kick out of it, and you just stay there, and then you feel like, I don't deserve to feel good. You know, this is where I should be. But the truth is, eventually, you know, when the time is right for you to move on and see what else is in your path, you got to be equipped to do it, and part of that requires a balance. You know, it's okay to take a break from being miserable and being depressed. It might be good for your mind to do something healthy, whether it's laugh at something funny, whether it's watch wrestling and cheer for your favorites. You know, if it's a walk in the park, whatever it is for you, you got to have your go-tos that you know bring you up and increase your spiritual vibration, and you also have to realize that you do deserve that.
Do you feel like you've achieved balance in your life?
Absolutely, I do, but I'm always learning. I'm not perfect, none of us are, but the strive for perfection is what keeps me going. That's what keeps me trying to get better, trying to learn more, trying to improve my flaws, my faults, and that's the constant drive for me. And I got to say, I'm 50 years old. I wouldn't even go back to 40 because I'm such a better person now. I know so much more, and I have so much better control of my life.
So do you know the point where you feel like you reached that balance in your life? Like, what age was it, or what clicked in your mind that you got that balance?
I think that it's always been a steady, progressive kind of movement. You know, I don't think that I just like crossed a line one day and then had like a different perception. You know, like when I was young and into martial arts, you know, I was taught a couple of different ways to meditate and what you can get out of that. And along with that, you know, comes the positive energy, the Zen spirit. That was all very appealing to me to bring in, but that's because my default vibration was consistent with that. You know, they work together. My parents would always say that when I was young, I wasn't really dramatic. I was one to stay inside my head and keep my feelings to myself, you know, and I laugh if it's funny, but I don't give the obligatory laugh that people do just to keep the communication going. To me, I feel like I'm above that, and not always, but studying life now, I do. Now I see, okay, that's why I do that. That's why I don't do that. But it was always for me, you know, going in the same direction. I always feel like I had people tell me that they got positive vibes off me, even when I wasn't doing so good. Like, there's times when I've been in the ring live on TV, suffering in my head, going through all kinds of stuff with my dad sick on his way out, the marriage, you know, going to hell, all kinds of stuff going on. And sometimes, I mean, usually you can take a break from that and get in the mind and focus and wrestle. Sometimes I'd be in the ring looking at the people live on Monday Night Raw, and these thoughts would be in my head, and I'd be saying, well, you know, just smile, you know, tap into the moment, whatever. And I would have people that know me, that are friends of mine, say, oh, I could tell you were so happy in the ring tonight. It feels so good to know you're enjoying yourself. I'd be like, really? And I came to own that, and I think that's good, and that is the way that I want to be seen. You know, I don't want to share bad energy. I know the way the world works, you know, and karma's a real thing. You put out good energy, it does come back to you. Same with bad energy. And I know a lot of people that have the opposite view on life. Some of them I can't seem to help. They have they have a reason for everything I can try to tell them about why what they're doing is going to lead to negative solutions, reactions, but they're victims, and they'll tell you why. I can't do this. This is why. I can't do this. That this won't. I tried to do this, and this didn't work. And that's really just a state of mind. It's a perspective. I wouldn't recommend it. I think life is an experiment, and you either experiment yourself, or you get those results from communicating with other people, reading about it, whatever. But boom, you're born. You go through this, and then and then you're done. So why not open yourself up to experience what you want to experience in life? I don't want to oversimplify it, because I know we all have our own conditions and such, but the mindset and the ability to control your mindset is something I think we all share.
Well said. Well said.
How much, I'm just curious, how much of your philosophy spilled over into your on-screen character, and does your philosophies help your on-screen character?
I would say that my philosophies are in everything that I do, so it must, whether it's an aid or hindrance, it is what it is, and sometimes it could be either, there was a lot of times where wrestling promoters want to see me angry, particularly in WWE. So many talks where we need to see an angry RVD, like rip your ponytail out and be like, grrr, like we've never seen you really mad, and they really thought there's money in that. And I always thought,
that's not you.
It not only is that not me, but you got everybody else here who it is that.
Right.
I'm almost convinced now at 50, by studying, looking at wrestling posters and pictures, I think that 95% of the wrestlers get in the business so they can have a photo going, ah! Why? Everybody does that.
I thought one of the greatest things you ever did was when you go like this. It's amazing.
Well, but it's natural.
Right.
And a lot of times I got to fight to be myself, which has been documented, Mm-hmm. And I look back at sometimes, and maybe I could have been a little more flexible. I've always been ahead of my time, but in some ways I can say I always probably thought that I knew a lot more than I did. And I think that's probably true with all of us when we look back, 20s, 30s. Now, when I look back, I was such a baby in my 20s. Like, I was so young. When I try to think about the mindset I was in, people want to know what, hey, what was it like when you were in WCW working with this guy? I was like, I was a baby. I was 21. How would I have noticed anything going on behind the scenes?
Just like anybody else, you're just doing your thing, and you're learning your way through it. So being as peaceful as you seem to be, with all the civil unrest in this country and all this disease going on in the country, how does that affect Rob Van Dam?
Well, it's the world I live in. It affects me in a way where inside I feel like I could help people. I do. And I feel a little bit of obligation to that, because whenever I do give a speech, even this, some people are going to hear this and they're going to comment one particular thing I said that really reached to them. I get that every time, and that means so much to me.
Good.
Someone will just say, hey, when you said that about, getting hurt but getting right back into it and trying it again, and man, that really, and dude, that's great, because I have a lot of experience, and I also have studied life for a long time, but we're all attracted towards different things in life. So we have these affinities, and we all pay attention to different things in life, So a lot of the stuff that I paid attention to, while other people were, there's a lot that I don't pay attention to. I'm one of a kind. People know I'm unique. What you don't know is there's so many things that we don't have in common. I know nothing about sports or about cars. For instance, I can't have a conversation about the Mets game or whatever. I know nothing about that. I never learned how to dress nice and buy fancy stuff to try to get the girls, you know what I mean? So I resented the kids in school that had the money to do that, because they got the girls, but I never, instead I just, was trying to convince myself that my way was cool too, and everyone would come around, while adapting, learning throughout time, adjusting to get better. So, I mean, I'm concerned. I'm very concerned with what's going on in Afghanistan, you know, and especially putting the history behind it and then thinking, like, okay, so now what? And I know people, you know, that were over there that are really affected by all their effort, you know, now seeming to go up in smoke. It's very concerning, but I tend to, for my spiritual purposes, surround myself with positivity. You know, if there's something that's stressing me out, I think everybody knows my vibe is different, you know. Matter of fact, one story, I've told this a few times, but I think maybe it'll be relevant and help explain. I was going to do a run-in on Chris Jericho, who was the champion at the time in WWE, and everybody, all the agents were telling me all day they wanted to see me mad. Grr! You know, whatever he did, I don't know. We had something going on, and they wanted me to run in. I'm going to beat the shit out of him. Boom, boom, boom. Bam. Splash him. Make my own count. 1, 2, 3. Hold the belt up. Yeah. Throw the belt on him and get out of there, right? Which would have been really cool for me and my character and to be in that position. But everybody was just driving me nuts all day. Just think about something that really makes you mad. You know, just think about that. I was like, I got it. I'm a fucking professional. I'll be angry. I won't smile. But they were so into it. And right in Gorilla, before he went out there, Jericho said something to him before he went out there. And I already at this time, like, was having issues adapting to the politics there, which Jericho had already been familiar with. So wrestling Jericho, a lot of things at that time, you know, when he was talking to me, sounded like Office talking to me, and I'd be like, we butted heads a lot, you know. At that time, it was stressful. It's a whole different stage up there, politics and everything. It really is. So anyway, right before he goes out there, Chris says to me, just, you know, pretend like I hit on your wife.
Okay.
The fuck kind of thing is that? And he went out there, and it was like the last straw. I was so mad. I was so stoked. I went out there, hit him in the face hard, you know what I mean? Bam, bam, bam. He went down. I think I splashed him. I grabbed the belt. I forgot to even do the cover or anything. I threw the belt or something. I left. I went to the dressing room, grabbed my bags, threw everything together. I was so pissed. I didn't calm down until the next day. I had to leave. I couldn't even be around anybody. And I tend to have more of an even keel of my energy. And Katie will say this too. Like, she doesn't fight with me because she says this all the time, because if she gets me mad, she knows that it's going to be for days. Like, I don't know. A lot of people have, most people have, everybody has a wider range than I do. But I see people get mad and come down mad, you know, yell at your kids, and then the next day you're talking to someone else, or the moment, I mean, and you're calm, and it's like, for me, I can't do that. You know, I like to be in the mode where I can grow the most, and that is for me to be, to stay inside my head mostly, you know, think my thoughts up there instead of think about what I'm saying as I'm saying it and then regret it later. You know, someone said something, you might have heard this expression, something about sometimes it's better to keep your mouth shut and have people think you're an idiot than open your mouth and prove it.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I think, talk way too much, or they're way too loud or whatever. And you know what? It doesn't make me hate them, but I consciously notice, you know what? I'd be a little more, my vibration would be more comfortable if I wasn't by this person. You know, I'm not gonna hang around them as much anymore. I'm gonna go to the other side of the room or whatever, because really, like, if you're completely alone by yourself, your spiritual vibration is so much different than even having a camera on you. And sometimes you notice, sometimes you don't. If you're being observed, like plants, if they're being observed, they allegedly grow different than if they're out in the wild. Just that factor of somebody else being in there. But yeah, you act different if you think you're being watched. You have obligatory consideration when someone's talking to you to act like you're interested, or to oh yeah, you know, even if you're bored to death. There's so much of that I try and keep most of that to a minimum, where I see other people, that's all they got. everything is just bullshit.
Incredible, man. We'll be right back with Mr. Rob Van Dam.
Hi, it's John from Under the Table Hot Sauce. I'm here with my friend, the star of the show, Jimmy Farrow.
Yeah, what's up, JB?
Nah, nothing.
It's been a hot summer, and for all your barbecue needs, you can go to underthetablehotsauce.com. 13 unique flavors to choose from, created and bottled in a Long Island kitchen. Underthetablehotsauce.com. Let's go chow, JB.
Let's do it.
All the flavor, twice the burn. M&J Video Games and Collectibles. Sport and non-sport cards, wrestling items, autographed items. We buy, sell, and trade. M&J Video Games and Collectibles, located at 1049 Queen Street, Southington, Connecticut. Call us at 1-860-479-9223 or 860-93-GAMES. M&J Video Games and Collectibles.
All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monty Nefaro, filmed out of Indie Music TV in Long Island, where we have the honor and the privilege to have in studio Hall of Famer, ECW great, overall great guy, Mr. Rob Van Dam.
RVD, I got to ask you. Actually, I want to thank you. Wow, check out that bicep over there, bro. I actually want to thank you very much for being a spokesman for marijuana. Thank you very much. Of course, the way Mike wrote this, you were not really a man who conformed to society. Is that because he likes to smoke weed?
No,
I'm
it's
just asking.
factual.
I'm just asking.
Rob, would it be fair to say that you go to your own drum, you don't take leadership,
There you go.
to a certain, you live your life, right?
That's completely true and not foreign to my ears. But I don't know. I'm not sure about that. I don't take leadership.
He acknowledges
you know?
leadership.
Yeah, I selectively consider anything that comes in, and then hey, is this good or bad?
Right.
Is this something? Hey, that's interesting. Should I apply that to my life? Or does that sound like something that's complete BS? But I do that.
What a
You ever
track.
catch? I'm sorry. You ever catch like when you're younger? What you're saying isn't even your thoughts. It's what your parents taught you.
Well, that's my
That's
point
true.
about conforming to society, right?
Sure.
Because people are directing you one way, and you said, hold on, I'm going to
Yeah.
segregate this, segment it. I'm going to take what I want to do, and I'm going to do what I want to do. Right? You even said, really not a sports guy, not a car guy. I'm sure growing up, people
Not
were
a
playing
music
sports.
guy. Who do you know that doesn't know music?
There
You're
you go.
not a music guy?
I'm not a music guy. People always want to know because I came out to Walk, such a cool song. People always want to know, like, what do you listen to?
So when you smoke, I just got to know, when you smoke, does it become a Zen thing? What do you do? What does Rob Van Dam do after a good spliff?
Well, see, the thing is that I actually smoke like all day long. So whatever I do after I smoke.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? I wake and bake. I'm on the computer.
Wake and bake.
My brain's warming
And you're a big
up.
mafia guy, right? You like the mafia.
That's my go-to. Yeah. Hopefully I will keep that separate and not try to do business with it, because it's my go-to. But I read a ridiculous amount of mafia every week. It's I read it every night on my Kindle. I watch documentaries on YouTube, and don't come up and say, hey, have you ever heard of so and so? Yes, I have. I mean, whatever it is, I've seen it probably several times. I'm not saying I know everything, but when fans come up, did you ever hear of Richard Kuklinski? I mean, I'm on a different level. And it's maybe a bit of an obsession, but it's my go-to. It's like, I think I've always kind of like been like single track minded and focused on one thing. When I was really young, it was I liked monsters when I was really young. That's one of the first things I can remember. Comic books.
All right, real quick. I don't mean to cut you off. King Kong or Godzilla?
You better
Let's
say
settle
Godzilla.
this right now.
Godzilla.
I am so surprised that the
Stop leading the witness.
The Godzilla versus Kong was not the classic movie that I thought it was going to be.
Thank you,
Stop
sir.
it.
Surprised.
Thank you very much.
Wait a second.
Thank
You
you.
didn't answer it, though.
forward to that.
Godzilla or King Kong?
Who
do you like more?
I guess I'm going to lean towards Kong.
Thank you. That's a true American
This is
right
really-
there.
you know,
you're not
really
American unless you
starting to-
stick with
this
Kong.
Is what is this
Godzilla
got to do?
Godzilla didn't really know who he was. Every movie he came out with, his fire was different. Like one time it's like a red laser, next time it looks like Colgate toothpaste. Like
Interesting.
Very good.
So there's nothing about like a fire-breathing dinosaur
no, I
roasting
like
a
him.
monkey?
I like them both. They're really cool. I just
He's just a con guy, dude.
I've been told my whole life that I might be a little closer to the ape than
Interesting.
than my fellow. Katie tells me all the time that I'm built like a gorilla.
Like a gorilla.
So
Interesting.
There you go.
maybe that's what it
What,
is.
what? You know, I find it interesting too. You got the Zen thing, but you're fascinated with mafia. What causes the mafia obsession?
Well, I would guess, as I was saying, comic books, Greek mythology. I got into Hollywood history. That got me into mafia history. I'm guessing part of it is probably the characters, but also it's just such a different life. Like if I am driving and God forbid, like a cat ran out in front of me and I hit the cat, that would just ruin my day. I mean, I'd be bawling. I'd feel so bad.
Yeah.
And to know these guys that'll walk their best friend into the bar, hang out with them all night, and then like shoot him in the head. Like it's fascinating in a way that I don't want to know what it's like.
Sure.
Wow.
Sure.
It is fascinating, that disconnect, right? It is fascinating. Listen, Rob, I want to know about your mom and dad. Tell me, I know your dad has passed. I don't know if your mom is still with us.
She is.
Can you tell us about both of them?
I had great parents. I came from a family of kind of a big family because there was 5 of us, 3 kids. So I think about my dad on his income, feeding 3 kids and a wife and keeping the bills going and with a regular job. And it's amazing. I think that helped me want to make more money, but also to indulge a lot more. You know what I mean? Because like he was born like right after the Depression was ending, and it was like in that area. And he's like, I'm glad that he taught me the value of a dollar. First job I remember getting paid for was because my brother would cut the grass, my sister would do whatever. When I was little, I would bring the paper and the newspaper from the newspaper box by the road and bring it in every day, and I got like a dime a week, and I worked my way up from there. Even though other kids were getting like $5 or $10 because they had rich parents, shoulder in the driveway or whatever, and be like, "What? You're lucky." But the value that he put in me, I think, is great, and also like no divorces, just a nuclear family, a lot of love, kind of a Leave It to Beaver kind of upbringing, like I really had a good childhood. For some reason, I never wanted to recreate that though. Like I wanted to venture out, and instead of trying to build like my own little family and take care of them, like I wanted to be out hitting the strip clubs every night and drinking and whatever, and and even at 50, like I don't want to recreate what I had. I kind of feel like it was so good that I don't know, I wonder a lot of times why my peers who have these paternal drives and they can't wait to have kids, like I wonder, like are they like reliving through their child vicariously and putting them through the steps they just went through? Because I'm not done with those steps yet. You know what I mean? Like it seems like quite a while ago that I graduated high school, but if you talk about ECW or something, that doesn't seem like that long ago. It really doesn't. Like I'm not. I can't imagine how old I would feel if I had a 32-year-old son.
Yeah, sure.
Like some of my peers, I can't imagine. Like that's another thing where I say, to be me, there's a lot of qualifications that other people, can't have. Just that I've managed to balance everything out for me right now. Like Katie wants a family later and stuff, and her and I have like this amazing love and amazing bond. Then she can talk me into doing something, but I don't have that drive. I've never wanted to be in my dad's position.
Speaking of your dad, how did his passing affect you?
It was pretty rough. It wasn't like it was a complete surprise because he was sick and going downhill. He had some heart conditions. He had a stroke. He had another stroke, and like for the last I don't know, year and a half of his life, he was trying to get partial paralysis back from the stroke with therapy and all this. So it was really hard, and then you get sick, and he'd go in, and then while he's there, he'd get infected. And so, when he finally passed, it wasn't a huge surprise, but losing your dad's not easy. So it was, it messed with my head, and it also hit me in a time in my life. And I'm glad you brought this up. One thing that I've learned that I wish people would get from anything I said today, when you get broken down, you have to think about this. You got to get back to this. You got to rebuild yourself quickly so you can be ready for the next blow that's going to come.
Sure.
Because that's how life is. It's not just one thing. It's never just one thing. And so, the marriage went south, which right now I'm so glad that I'm not in that marriage anymore. I had no idea how happy I could be. I thought I was happy, and for a 27-year-old, that was the happiest I'd been. But now when I look back at all the mistrust and the fights that were, and the needless stress, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad that my evil ex had the sense to get away. I couldn't have grown, I'm still like, I can't believe people, when I see them now, I can't believe some of the conversations I might have had with them 20 years ago, just because I was like, I can't let, if a good-looking girl comes in the room, my wife, she's going to be looking at me like, don't you notice that? She was so insecure.
This sounds familiar.
It does
Dude,
sound
this
familiar.
is another
sounds
thing I'm
very
talking
familiar.
about. Everybody can relate. Not everybody has the freedom in the life that I do. So
But-
I can't say just be me, because how many guys listening have insecure,
Yeah.
or women? That's
But in a way, she did you a favor, right? Because she
Absolutely.
got out of it. She didn't want to be part of it anymore. And in that
Absolutely.
time, gave you the opportunity to grow into your life.
I
So
looked
things
at it
happen
as
to
a
everyone.
failure at the time, and grieved about it. I never wanted that. A lot of that was preset notions that was put in my head. When you get married, you stay together. You know what I
Right.
mean? And
Right.
there's so many preset notions that I could have done better without. So part of getting to where I'm at is reprogramming yourself. But before I get to that, I just want to say about my dad. His death hit like boom. Marriage went down. Now I'm in this big house, cold house by myself, depressed. And then, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so weak. What if my dad dies? And I knew it was going to happen, but I prepared myself to be totally fucked by it. Like I'm not going to be able to handle that. So it was very hard. And then my dog died. And then it was just like, you got to remember there's another wave coming. So deal with it. Everyone, it's okay you are allowed a time to grieve and all that, but I'm saying get your strength back, because you just got punched in the face, but get your guard back up, because you're going to get punched again. When it comes to reprogramming myself, there's a few books that I read that really helped me when I was really getting into building my spiritual self, right? One of them was a Celestine Prophecy. I don't know if you guys know. I can tell you guys that anybody that's listening that has read the Celestine Prophecy, they know that what I'm saying is true. It's a life-changing book for like-minded people, for people that believe in that that energy, that's that vibration, that spiritual drive that drives everything. For people like me that have read that, it makes you see the world different. Another one is the Four Agreements. It teaches you to completely reprogram yourself. There's just 4 simple agreements, and one of them is don't assume. That's so hard to do throughout the day, but if you practice, it's just like, oh, so-and-so's not here. Oh, he had something better to do than this. You don't know that.
Yeah.
You have no idea. So why make shit up? But everybody does. It's natural for us. But so so instead of everything you've learned up till that point that's got you set up for things to happen that may or may not happen, you actually can actually reprogram your mind to see things different, so that you're prepared with a different reaction, and so that it will affect you in a different way than it would have with your old programming.
So I see on your finger, is that the WWE Hall of Fame ring?
It is.
So 2-part question. Number one, what did that induction to the Hall of Fame mean to Rob Van Dam? And this is kind of a personal thing. I got a little bit of hard on for Phil Brooks, right?
His name is CM Punk.
Which
Stop calling him
made a
Phil
statement
Brooks.
calling
I
the
thought you
Hall-
meant Rusty Brooks when you said that. I was thinking,
No, but he made
that's weird.
he made the statement that the Hall of Fame's a Fugazi Hall of Fame and worthless. What are your thoughts on how it meant to you and his comments about the Hall of Fame?
I think anyone that's not in the Hall of Fame, I feel like I've heard them on YouTube claim, oh, it's not real, it's in Vince's mind because it doesn't exist anywhere, because they're not in it. And that's human nature. You always try to find a way to make the situation work for you, even if it really doesn't. You know what I mean? I mean, that's just like everyone leaves, everyone's going to pile in the van and they're all going to go party and you miss the van, right? You're going to be like, I should sleep anyway. I didn't really want to go.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
That's human nature. But to actually really, to not know and just to do it because it's a natural thing to do. And I'm not saying that he didn't put any thought into it. In that situation, sometimes, you know what, it really would be better if I slept instead of going, and sometimes I really was on the fence about going. But the thing is, reality. People block reality to put in their own perspective of it that works for them. And the reason I'm so honest to a flaw, I don't lie. I mean, I will tell the cop, fuck no, I haven't been drinking. What are you talking about? I mean, there's a time where if my freedom is at jeopardy or something like that, sure, and I'll joke, or something, but I'm honest because I want my reality known for what's real. And if I'm fucked in my head and my reality isn't right, then I want everyone to know. You know what I mean? I've been telling people for years that marijuana is not that dangerous. They have it a Schedule I controlled substance. They have it banned by the federal government along with heroin and acid. But yet, I learned 30 years ago or so, maybe not quite that long, but I learned about why all these lies were put out there and what it was really about, and also how many people could really benefit from the use of cannabis and how they're not able to get it so that these evil agendas can step forward. And you start learning like how the government works. But the thing is, if I was to overdose from marijuana and die today, I would want everybody to know, oh, guess what, Rob had it wrong. I would want everyone to know, because we learn from the truth. When you lie, you're changing history. That should be a sin. It's a sin to me to try to change history, for the perception moving forward, because life's factual. It is. I don't know. The Hall of Fame thing meant a lot to me because one, it's an honor to be recognized on that level. Two, it was a welcoming back to the WWE after being maybe considered, redheaded stepchilded, whatever that expression is. They kind of going down in history. And the thing is, I didn't change. I stayed the same. The world came around, and I knew it would. I did this show on Vice. Same time, maybe the week before, we were doing the Icons, and it was about marijuana. And it was about me speaking about marijuana, and the guy Krishna, the host, it wanted so bad to get me upset that I got suspended and lost the world championship titles back in the day over possession of marijuana. And I don't get upset because I told him these are steps, like that was necessary in order for us to get where we're at now. The soldiers, they had to fall at the beach in Normandy so the other soldiers could get past and whatever. It's, hey, we're moving forward. That's great. And I wanted so bad to tell him, but it was like the day that we ended that interview. Later on, I found out WWE's not even testing for marijuana anymore, and I wanted to tell him that, but at the same time, I didn't want to sabotage it for WWE. I figured they're not going to make a big announcement because then they'll have haters coming after them, sponsors. So instead, they'll do it quietly because they know that marijuana is actually better for the athletes than any of the prescription drugs. Yeah, but it did get out, so I don't mind talking about it now. Otherwise, I would still keep it on the down low, even though it's a great thing. I wouldn't be telling people that they're not testing for marijuana because I don't want to put any heat on them. They're going in the right direction. They got to keep going that way, and soon everyone's going to learn. And I know this is way too early to tell people and have them accept this, but you are going to learn that your life expectancy, if you're a cannabis user, is longer than if you're not. You could call it controversial
So
now.
there.
Someday
I'm going to live
you will
forever
not.
under those circumstances.
Well, there you go. You're
Not
all
bad.
set. Yeah,
Not bad. Not bad at all.
it's 100% true. They did tests. My friend Jack Harrer told me about it when I first met him. He was one of my mentors. People don't know he's real because now his name is a flavor of weed that nobody can pronounce.
Yeah, pretty cool.
But they did a test. Certain people saw the results. The test disappeared. Now it's like a mythical thing. You can look it up online and find its mythology, but it completely makes sense to me because everything that hits the body is in the form of stress, and stress is the number one enemy to human health.
How many lives do you think might have been saved in this business if marijuana had been offered as a medication for pain instead of the pills that so many have taken in this business? Do you think we would have had some lives saved over the course
There's
of the
no
years?
question about it. There's no question about it. I'd like to think most of the lives. Now, in a real free society, when you can choose marijuana or opiates or cocaine or alcohol or whatever, in a total free society, not everyone's going to jump to one thing, you know. Over the years, I can't tell you how many people have told me that they wish they could smoke marijuana, but they get tested at their job, so because of that, they drink. You know, they go to the bar and they drink after work every night, which is way worse for the body, way worse for society.
Agreed.
But, you know, people are just now starting to learn that because the government back in the 30s completely wanted people to not know the truth about cannabis.
Right.
And I'm not saying it's for everybody, but now it's always been illegal to study the plant. So all we knew about it, THC, it gets you stoned. Now we're actually able to quasi-study it, even though the feds still got to make the change. And we're able to separate. Now there's over 100 cannabinoids in the plant. THC is just one of them. And when we're able to separate all of it now, we're able to take CBD and we're able to help so many people. RVD CBD I started that because of, it's all been my path, but I wanted to help, with the mind issues. I'm sick of my peers going through CTE symptoms, depression, either overdosing on purpose or on accident, or just killing themselves,
Mm-hmm.
And I was reading that the world was starting to catch up and learn that CBG could actually regenerate dead brain tissue. I was reading this in a Time magazine. The NFL was looking at it. That's what made me want to start my company. And the feedback that I get is like, it's so great. Like knowing that I'm helping all these people that take the time to write and tell me. Like my grandfather tried all this other stuff, nothing worked. Now, he now doesn't have as much pain. He's able to take his daily walks again. I mean, that's beautiful. And so what? I'm going to conform and keep people miserable because that's what everyone else does?
Wow.
Keep it away from cancer patients and tell them to add powdered milk to their food to try to get extra calories? Come on.
Right.
That's bullshit.
Right. Rob, I wanted to ask you, do we have to go to a break yet?
No, you're good.
We're
Keep
good?
going.
I wanted to ask you, and I did mention to you before you got on the air, I feel everybody should be cutting you a check, quite honestly, for the influence that you've had in the ring, especially as what we've seen wrestling develop into over the years. Mike and I call them flippers and flyers, but you were the true, real prototype where it counted.
Well, so wait, can I interject?
Sure,
then?
please.
So, on the other hand, where he's giving you compliments, which I totally agree, you're also maybe to blame for what's going on and what's happening to
That's
the
rough.
wrestling
Get him, Rob.
industry. Is that fair enough, Rob?
Define blame.
Get him.
Define blame. So, when I see you, Rob, I say that's a wrestler.
Yeah.
When I see you fly and hit somebody, I say, now again, obviously I know that it's scripted, but there's tons of athleticism and there's injuries involved. Fantastic. But when I watch what's happening now, where there's a guy that's 150 pounds and 140 pounds,
Right.
and they do a backflip and hit you with their toe, and then you fall like you got destroyed, I tend to believe, like, here's an innovator who changed the business, everybody took that information and turned it into a
This.
clown show.
Right.
Is that defined enough?
Do you get frustrated when you see something that you really turned into an art form and it was beautiful to watch, unbelievable, seeing what it's become today?
And believable, let's keep saying.
Very believable,
Well,
seeing what it's
that's the
become
thing.
today.
I do, and that's the thing right there. I mean, not to overexpose the business. I still, I'm still a little protective, about.
Sure.
But
Sure.
I watch wrestling sometimes, like with Katie, to help her out. She's up and come. She's learning, point things out. And what I always notice is that their mindset is different. The Sheik had us in the mindset to where we're competing the whole time, and we don't take a break from that. We don't take a break from the mindset of competing to help you out, help keep you balanced with a spot or something like that.
Right.
We didn't do it. Like even during it, if we had to do something, we're still competing during it. You know what I mean? Trying to shake the leg or something, even if you're whatever. And we really believed it. It was all about grab them. What are you doing? Anytime one of us was lying down on their back, cover them. What are you doing? Cover them. You can win. It was always about trying to win. So we would do a move, even way before we knew anything about psychology. It would be about trying to win. That was the first psychology. Even if it's a body slam, cover, kick out, no one's going to win that. But you're trying. And for me, that's the obvious thing that's missing right now. And I mean, the more everybody talks openly about wrestling, I kind of feel that wrestling might be going in the way of the police officer career. They both someday might be a thing of the past or changed so much. Wow. Yeah, that it's not the same anymore. I mean, I tell Katie this, I see the wrestlers and they're almost like a magician saying, see this hat? I'm going to pull a rabbit out of the hat, all right? You don't know the rabbit's already in there. See, I'm going to reach in and you're going to look at, it's going to look empty, right? It looks empty, watch. Here's the rabbit. But really, I just had it covered and it looked empty, but he was there the whole time. Eventually, people are not going to want to keep paying to see that, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
That's how I see wrestling going right now. And because of that, it's the easiest time out of the history of wrestling for fans to get into the business. Every really, really hardcore fan is only that far away from being in the business anyway.
Yeah.
Whether they're writing their own newsletter or doing their own shows or whatever. You almost don't even have to get trained anymore, to be universal with what they're doing nowadays. I'm so thankful I had the original Sheik and that old school mentality, and that's what kept me compatible, even though my stuff was outrageous to some. And now it's going in that direction where went from a closed door society where people would get beat up if they went back in the dressing room in my time, right? To now where it's all the building people can walk through or watch us work out in the daytime in the ring anyway, and everything is. I'm doing like Sammy the Bull does. You know how I said I hear him sigh when he does his things. That's not a normal thing. I think it's subconscious. When I run out of things to say, I go. I don't like it when Sammy does it, so I don't want to do it either.
How easy was it for you, being the trailblazer that you were? You were clearly introducing moves to your opponents that they had probably never seen before. How easy was it for you to get people to want to work with your revolutionary type of style? Did you realize I'm doing things no one's done in the ring before?
I knew, because even before my first match, that was what excited me and my best friend Dingo, who's no longer around, but we did everything together. As fans, when we would play wrestle, we were always inventing new moves, and that was always part of it. I was doing the split-legged moonsault before I ever had my first match. And I explain it this way, and I have had, especially when I was younger, I've had people that I'm supposed to work with, and I tell them some of the things I'm going to do. I've had them leave, grab their bag and leave, and that's definitely happened.
Sure.
But I mean, if you think, if I'm going to hit you with a leg drop, you don't need to know if I'm going to jump up and do a 360 before I hit the leg, or if I'm going to do a somersault and hit the leg. You don't even know that. If I'm going to pick Ray Ray up and do a 420 leg drop, your part's the same. I had to get my stuff in and get around it. That's why, with Stan, did I tell the Stan Hansen story here, or was that off camera?
That was off camera. You tell it, please.
See if I can make it real quick. When I first started wrestling in Japan in 93, 94, probably part of 95, Stan, I think he liked me, but he totally thought that my wrestling, had no place in the business. He was very clear about it. And he was always, we'd be talking earlier in the day about a match or whatever. He'd called me Claude because of the Van Damme. That was always his nickname. He'd say, get Claude in there, let him do his ridiculous things, and
sounds like Stan.
Let's get me back in here and let me try and make it believable again and get it. It was always like that. And then I wrestled against him one time, and after the match, he says, I got to tell you, he said, that's so different being in the ring with you. Like, I always thought seeing your stuff was silly, but it actually works. Like, you were there 1 second, and what I did, I gave him a couple shoulders in the corner. I did the backflip, ran at him, kicked him or something. Well, you like that, Stan Hansen? And he said, you were there. He goes, you were there 1 second, and then you just like, and then you were gone. I couldn't see you, and then you appeared again. And of course, Stan is blind, but the point is, I didn't have to tell Stan I was going to do that, and that's a big difference in how I got my shit in. Working around people, and that's how my mind was, because I was still competing. If I'm competing with someone, I'm not going to say, hey, will you catch my foot? And then 1, 2, 3, and then you put, come on, it was different.
Did you ever get injured privately when you were coming up with these new moves? Like, okay, how does one perfect the Van Terminator when no one's looking? I mean, did you boing, oh crap, I didn't quite make it across the ring, let me try this again? How do you go about inventing these moves? Did you ever get injured privately before you presented them publicly?
So, one thing that'll probably sound weird, because I spent so much time stretching, and it's a very inner experience, I had to build a mind-body connection in order to get results from stretching. And because of all of that, I'm able to visualize, and I can see my limits in my head. I can feel it, and I know if I can do something or not. Pretty much, sometimes I might have to just test something, but it's like that. Most of the stuff, I feel myself. I feel my muscles moving. I feel myself jumping. All that in my head, and I know, like if no, that's too much. But specifically with the Van Terminator, that was a progression. There was the Van Daminator, and then I would throw the chair to Fonzie. Fonzie would hold, or Fonzie would throw the chair to the guy, and then I'd kick him, called that a hot potato move. And I started crouching the guy on the rope, jumping off the top rope, delivering a flying side kick when Fonzie would hold the chair. And I had fun with that air, and I kept scooting him back further, and I was like, I'm making it across the ring. So it was, boom.
Shane ever send you a check for stealing your move?
No, he never did.
All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We got about 15 minutes. I want to get Rob's better half in here, Katie Forbes.
Hey,
all right?
buddy.
Be right back.
That's right, folks. Canine Corral for all your dog daycare and overnight care. Call 631-549-1544. That's 631-549-1544.
Oh, what's up, Mike?
Hey, Jimmy, what's going on?
Yeah, nothing much.
Jimmy, I love this country.
Oh.
I love to buy Made in America material. And I love to buy my artwork at TAG, T-A-A-G, Made in America, 14 East Broadway, Port Jefferson, New York, 11717. The shop at the corner.
Do you treat your dog as part of the family? Well, so do we. So why not celebrate your pup's birthday with the ultimate party box? Check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Party Pup Info, and let us make your pup's party or any celebration perfection.
Jimmy, I gotta take a dump.
What?
No, I mean I need a dumpster.
Well, for all those needs, you need to call Big V Dumpster Rental, Long Island, New York, 631-900-DUMP.
Whoa. All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast. Monty and the Pharaoh, only seen here out of Indie Music TV. Matt, I hope you caught that.
Matt, did you catch it?
All right, we've got Rob Van Dam's better half, Katie Forbes, in studio. Thank you for joining us, Katie.
Hey.
Before we get to you guys and your relationship, real quick question. You mentioned the Sheik. I wanted to know if, Rob, if you had spoken to Sabu and how's he doing considering what he's been going through lately?
Sabu is very sad and he's very depressed about losing Jeannie. She was his everything, you know, and I talked to him like pretty much every day via text. And I just saw him the other day, and I will see him tomorrow at the ECW Arena, also in Philadelphia. But you know, he's really sad, and he's dealing with it. He's looking for strength. You know, he's kind of kept to himself and doesn't feel like getting out very much right now. And you know, he's entitled to a grieving period.
Sure.
Hopefully he kicks out, and it is, of course, horribly sad. I mean, she died right in front of him while she was sleeping. He saw her, and he's very hurt by it. But he's also very strong. I mean, he's strong because he just keeps going. I mean, he's like a cockroach, Sabu is a cockroach.
Can I ask you,
I don't know that I would be as strong in the same situation.
who is the real Sabu? Because, he's kind of mysterious. You hear all these extreme things about him, the rumors and all this nonsense, but you know the man. Who is Sabu to Rob Van Dam?
Sabu is a guy with a huge heart. He's overly generous. Since I first started riding with him in 1990, if he had $20, he would give $10 to the guy begging for it at the gas station. Literally. And I saw him do that. And $20 was our payoff at that time in the USWA days. Big payoffs. One time I got 15. Evansville, Indiana.
So this is what I want to know. How did you guys meet? And you guys, this looks like real love. So,
us. I thought I was thinking about Sabu.
That's great.
How did you guys meet?
You want to tell the story, baby?
Sure. We met in 2016 at the Dallas Comic-Con, and he was signing his autograph, and I saw him and walked up and gave him a big hug, and neither one of us wanted to let go. Oh. And then I wrote my number down and put it in his bag.
All right, wait, Katie. So you go there. Did you have this in mind, I'm going to find Rob?
Is that the plan?
And I'm setting the seed. We're going to get this going.
Kinda, because I saw him doing the splits. I was watching ECW a month before it happened, and I was like, oh my God, he is so hot. And my mouth dropped, and the people that were around me watching it is the witness to it. I was just ooh, when he does those splits, yes.
So you set this up. You're totally into him. I get it. Is there some fear that you just might get rejected by Rob? Are you just
nope.
I got all this, he ain't rejected shit, this is the gold?
I said exactly, if he met me, he would love me. I could feel his vibe through the TV that was matched my vibe, and so he, of course, was my number one crush, and I had just told my sister a few days before that he was my number one celebrity crush. So I guess I did kind of manifest it, but I didn't expect him to be at that con and signing by me. So of course when I saw him, I was like, okay, I gotta shoot my shot. This is my once in a lifetime opportunity.
She totally manifested it.
Yeah.
Right, so she gives you get the number. Who makes the first call? So you're calling.
I had to do all the work.
Oh wow.
She thought I wasn't interested because I didn't talk to her for a couple of days. but I was smashed. I was so hammered.
Oh, so you were playing the cool guy, like I'm not calling, she's gonna call.
No, I was just drunk.
He was just busy being drunk.
We actually met on my lowest of all lows. Like that was my rock bottom. Wow. You know, we were talking. That was the beginning of 2016 when my dad died.
Okay.
And you know the marriage had gone, and then the dog died, and I was like, when I met her, I was at my rock bottom, and there's stories there that I haven't shared publicly, that I'll do in the book. You know, like I said, I'm always overly honest.
I don't want to get too sappy with you.
Holy crap,
I love
though.
animals, but I watched that WWE documentary that they did on you, which was fantastic. What did your dog mean to you during those hard times?
By the way, it was a 13-hour blackout during my... But, so this particular dog was more... It was like all I had, you know? And it really wasn't even like it was a community dog with the ex. Mm-hmm. And so, like, when I'd be in town, she would, like, drop the dog off so the dog would be there when I get home and I could have the dog.
It's like visitation type of things.
Yeah, but the dog was really scared of me. She was like a little chihuahua. It wasn't like she was like real comfortable with, you know, she definitely preferred, you know, her mom and so, but it was like she was a rescue, and at first she was so scared, and then we built this trust up, you know, and it was like, oh, and I was so proud like a parent, like, oh, she's getting happy and she's playing and look at her, like she's so vibrant, and then boom, took her to get her, the ex took her to get her teeth cleaned. Boom, died from the anesthesia. Totally unexpected. A little 4-year-old little puppy that was so happy. It crushed me. That was the only, at the time, you know, when you get depressed, and I know a lot of people can relate to this, you can only see what's, you know, you're trapped in like this little thing. And I knew there's a whole world of people out there that love me. Everywhere I go, people are going to be excited to see me. But it didn't matter. When I was depressed in my own little bubble, I just felt like there's nothing positive I can reach except for this dog. Right. So the dog died, and just like I was saying before, I already had myself mentally set up to be totally fucked, because like that's the last thing I can't. Oh my God, if that dog dies, right. And I even had a premonition about it, you know, about the dentist, because I knew the anesthesia was a risk, and I had a premonition, and I was like, oh my God, no, if that happens, I don't even know if I'll want to live. So of course, when it happens, you know, instead of having myself with my guard up, you know, ready to take that next shot, I felt like I was just ripped open, saying, here's my heart, here's everything, you know, can I make anything easier for you to hurt me? That's how I felt.
So is it fair to say that Katie kind of saved your life?
Yeah, it's fair to kind of say that, and I never like wanted to die, but I did have the conversation, like, you know, how much worse could all of my peers feel when they decide to take their lives? Like how much more pain could there be? You know, and I was like, do I want to do that? But I was like, no, there was never a time where I was like, yeah, I want to do that. So there was that, you know, and I knew that I was going to get over this. I knew that I was going to get out of my bubble and things would get good again. I had no idea that, you know, I could be happy as I am now, because, you know, Katie and, you know, like I said, when I was 27, everything then, I was so inexperienced. That was like the best of life I'd had back then. But at 50, I pretty much know what's good for me in life, what to stay away from. And as we've discussed, I've worked very hard on categorizing my life in such a way so I can be balanced. And so, you know, when Katie came along, just took me to new levels. And, you know, people that know me now that say, you know, you look way happier than I've ever seen you before. I'm like, I'm glad you can feel it. I'm glad that I'm emoting that with my vibrations, because there's no reason not to be.
Well,
I'm
God
very,
bless,
very blessed.
God bless you both. I love that relationship. So we're out of time. We got one last thing.
What?
The Pharaoh's final question. This is where the star of the show comes up with his own question. This is an important one, bro. So you really got to think this one out. Not scripted. He's going to ask a question and just have at it.
Well, question number one, would you like to smoke a bowl with me? No, I'm just kidding. This one, all right, you know what? It ain't gonna be a wrestling question. It's gonna be, you've mentioned spiritual many times during this interview. So I'm gonna hit you with a heavy one. What is God to Rob Van Dam? Is it the books we've read as growing up? Is it, you know, I know that you're, you know, the Zen thing. You know, what is God to Rob Van Dam?
Excellent question.
The unknown higher power.
I love it.
People are afraid to admit that they don't know something,
Thank you.
and there's a lot of strength in knowing that knowing what you don't know. There's so much strength in that.
Sure.
And people always got to feel like they find an answer, oh no, I know what happens after you die. No, you don't. So, I believe in a higher power. I know I have a relationship with what I call the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that for some people, they could interchange the label on that with their version and call it God, But to sit here and say, God did this and this 6,000 years ago,
Right.
and he said this and this.
Right.
How are we going to know that, and even, whether can even relate to any physical aspects of a sex, being a he or she, who knows? But I just know that there's an energy, there's like a web of energy that connects everything, all right? Like if you look through a microscope, there's proof. You see all the little,
Sure.
boom, all the atoms moving around, and that is in the air, it's between us. And when you think about it, everything is coming to us through our senses, but that's us touching it through the web. I hear you because the voice waves that are traveling, that's the same thing, the way everything works. Seeing, feeling the sun's heat, it's all just that energy, that web of energy. And when something happens here, if you study synchronicities, you really get a deeper insight as to how something can happen here and on the other side of the planet at the exact same time. You could be thinking about your friend in Japan while he's dialing your number, and there's a reason. And I've built my relationship over the last several years, and will continue to do so with that energy that can't be described in terms that could be articulable for most people to comprehend, and that's where the faith comes in knowing that you don't completely understand it, but I definitely have a good relationship with it, and so does Katie. We have synchronicities all the time, and we point them out, and we're aware of them. Sometimes we try to figure it out. That wouldn't have happened if this hadn't happened before, and then you can get to the chicken or the egg manifestation kind of perspective if you want to.
All right, so where are you guys going to be upcoming? You're in Comac, I know, at the Wrestling Universe in about an hour and a half or so. Where else are you guys traveling?
So tomorrow's the ECW Arena, convention all day, and then a match tomorrow night. Matt Hardy's going to be there. I don't know who else is going to be there.
I think Bully Ray's going to be there, right?
Yep.
Real quick, opinions on Bully Ray. Is he really a good guy, or is he really the persona that he puts out there?
I think he's got a good balance of both in him. I think he's a good guy. Now, I can see a lot more of my peers as good people now because I don't have that competitive spirit in me. But when I was in the dressing room with all these guys, I was in a different frame of mind where I was like, hey, fuck that guy. And Sabu got me like that too. We'd stay together, we'd have our own clique. We'd say so-and-so thinks they're good, but they're not, and this and that. I'm so glad to be out of that frame of mind because that it wasn't peaceful, right? But you don't want to be peaceful if you're fighting. Right. Those are contradicting elements.
Sure.
So now I look at it, people that I didn't get along, and even Bubba. Like a lot of times, when Sabu and I would wrestle the Dudleys, a lot of times we'd be hating on Bubba. Devon was the cooler Dudley, of course. Bubba would be the dick on purpose to the fans and everybody, but that's got to come out from somewhere in him. Like he's really comfortable being the bossy guy and yelling at people, but he's also a really good guy, which I've come to notice and now can focus on a lot more than I could when we were punching each other in the face.
Gotcha.
We used to literally get in a shoot punch fight every night in the ring.
I heard that. I heard that was like shoot.
Yeah.
I kind of wish you would knock this head off.
One of us would catch the other one, and then it'd be like receipt, harder, and we would just go bam, and either one of them, I'm not going to sell it, hit me hard as you can, because we have something to prove.
Wow.
Bam, oh yeah, bam, every night.
All right, this has been an incredible interview. We want to thank you both for joining us. Again, we wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors, and we're looking forward to seeing you travel the Northeast. Jimmy, you got any last words for the fans out there?
I just hope that they enjoyed our time with RVD, and I want to say thank you very much, Rob. You are in my top 5 all time.
Awesome.
Favorite wrestler, and as far as I'm concerned, we just got done interviewing. This is me, though, so you can make fun of me for weeks now after this. We just got done interviewing the greatest in-ring performer, wrestler that I have ever watched.
Over Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, over Shawn Michaels.
Wow.
Yeah, you heard me.
Look at that.
Yeah, you heard
That's
me.
a major
Yeah,
compliment.
you heard me. Yeah, he was more well-rounded. Sorry about that, Sean.
I might have to. I might have to agree with you.
Don't
on
lose your smile, Sean.
With that, you've
It's all
been
about image, so I'm glad I had put that image out there.
You did.
Appreciate
The
it.
whole effing show.
want to thank you for joining Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast. This is Mike Monty.
This is the Pharaoh, and until next time, later.